Rod joins us in the studio now. Good morning, Rod Baker. How are you, brother?
Yeah, good, thanks, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you in here, mate. Now, you have a story to tell, which is, I think, quite unique. You're a Dubbo boy. You are in a wheelchair. You do have spina bifida. And you're saying that you were quite lazy at first and you were quite depressed and you thought that your life would amount to nothing for
Yep.
being in a wheelchair.
Yep.
What was that depression stage like? And then when did it change that you started becoming so inspirational, which we'll get to later?
Well, I think not just because I'm in a wheelchair, but I think for everyone with a disability of any sort, it's very similar. There's always some sort of adversity that person has to overcome, no matter what sort of disability it is, really. Because there's that feeling of abnormality that is extremely hard to shake.
Is it just like you don't fit in kind of thing with the rest of society?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of describing it. I've always been fairly assertive, and therefore I didn't really get picked on very much. But yeah, but there's not actually very much of my early childhood that I can remember, because I actually had 14 operations before I even started school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think that may have taken away a little bit of my memory from before school.
So that was due to spina bifida, all the operations?
Yeah.
So tell us about what it was like during these, I suppose, dark times.
It wasn't all extremely dark. Like, I do have some great friends who have always stuck by me and helped me, but even with them, there was still some, personal demons.
Do you think you were your own worst enemy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of how I felt. Because I was a bit, emo or goth or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I went through that little stage when I was maybe 15, I think, and only really lasted for about a year. And then I thought to myself, this is bloody stupid, But I do realize now why I did it. Well, it's exactly the same reason as why I go to the gym these days. I wanted people to see me for something other than being disabled. I wanted people to see that, oh yeah, he's in a wheelchair, but obviously he can, dress himself and do things like that. Because it's so against my personality these days.
Being a goth back then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all go through that phase though, right?
Yeah.
Like, where you're trying to find yourself as well and you're trying to find a certain identity.
Yep.
So what changed? You had the times where you thought nothing was going to happen in your life would amount to anything because you are disabled. You said you grew out of that probably, let's say, late teens, and then you changed. And now you're a motivational speaker. You don't drink. You're a gym junkie. Before we get to all that, what was the thing that made you change? Was there one moment?
I know exactly what made me change.
Tell us.
Well, most of my depression wasn't actually based on the fact that I couldn't walk. It was based on my neurological problems, brain problems. Like, for example, I'd always get pretty pissed off with the teacher. I'm not an angry person by any means, but I used to get very pissed off with teachers, especially when they'd rub stuff off the board when I was only like halfway through, because I've never been a very fast writer.
Me either, bro.
Yeah.
I was horrible at maths, and so I always used to get very left behind there. Most of my depression was caused by the fact that I thought I was dumb. And then once I left school and once I stopped getting drilled with, maths equations and Pythagoras theorem and all that shit, I started to realize that hang on, the real world isn't actually all that complicated.
Yep.
And that's what was so daunting for me, was the fact that everything was so incredibly hard at school, that I thought, oh God, the rest of my life is going to be like this, and this is what they're preparing me for.
So it was the prospect of leaving school. School was hard.
Yep.
So being the real world you thought would be even harder.
Yeah.
So, Rodney, I've actually seen a YouTube video of you at the gym, and I want to know, how'd you get into going to the gym?
Well, I wanted to focus on something that I was good at, and it wasn't until about a year later that I discovered something that I actually was fairly good at, and I was seeing results at, and that was the gym.
Was your first time in the gym a little bit daunting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who took you for your first time? Why did you decide to go to the gym all of a sudden?
Actually, I just went on my own.
Did you?
Another reason I wanted to go to the gym, and probably a little bit more specific, was that being in a wheelchair, or having a disability, as you can imagine, is a very powerless position. And I just wanted to do something about that, because I felt very vulnerable and very out of place. I felt like if someone wants to have a go at me, I've got no chance. Not that I ever see that happening. I'm a pretty friendly fella.
Yeah.
But
But it was in the back of your mind anyway that
Yeah.
you would feel physically inferior, so you thought, I'll go to the gym.
Yeah, I've made some very good friends from going to the gym, and also a bit of a mentor, Scott McKenzie. He's helped me a lot. We made that video together,
Yeah.
the one that you were talking about, and he just came up to me one day and said, how would you feel about doing a motivational video for YouTube? We could have footage of you doing some really hard and challenging stuff at the gym, and also some interviews from people who are really close to you, and how you've changed in the last few years, and it was because of that video really that a lot of stuff's actually happened.
Yeah, so you've done some motivational talks at TAFEs and at
Yes.
school as well.
Yeah.
Tell us, what was it like to do a motivational speech in front of that many children?
At this stage, I had actually written a few pages just on my life, my struggle with depression and getting over that depression. A lot of people say you can't beat depression, but yeah, you can. I'm proof.
Yes.
And what Delroy did was they got a few people from the community and got them to talk to the kids in the English department just as a bit of motivation for them.
Right.
Anyway, they got a few people from the community, influential people. And so it was a bit of an honour to be placed with those sort of people. I actually went to Delroy a long time ago, and I've got to be honest with you, they weren't the fondest memories in my life.
Did you say that to the crowd when you're doing your speech? Did you say that school was tough and it gets better afterwards?
Yes, yes I did.
How did they react?
I was expecting a little bit of a tougher crowd than what I got, and what I got was lovely. They listened to every word I had to say, and they were really nice, and they had some really nice things to say after I'd finished.
And is that the school you ended up graduating from?
No, I went to for primary. I went to Arana Heights, and then I went to Delroy, and then I went to the senior campus.
Oh, it's the same school I went to.
Oh right, the senior campus I think is a lovely school.
So you were at Delroy with these influential people and you were one of the motivational speakers. You spoke honestly about how school was hard and even actually life can be better afterwards because you have options of what you want to do.
Yep.
And I assume you spoke to them about your gym, like you've told us today.
Yes.
And becoming a motivational speaker.
Yeah, 'cause that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably the biggest part of it. I think the gym is what actually brought me out of depression.
Fitness, natural endorphins, exercise.
Yeah, and not feeling vulnerable anymore.
Going to the gym makes you not feel vulnerable. And is this the message you try and get across
Basically,
in
yes.
your motivational speaking?
The message I try to bring across is that if you're not a terribly academic person, try to do the best that you can at school, because I sure did. But if you don't go all that well, it's not the end of the world. Because school is extremely hard, and if you ask me, it's a lot harder than the real world. It was extremely intimidating, especially the last 2 years of school. They were probably the hardest. I did finish my HSC, but I didn't go all that well. But
That's okay.
But,
That's like,
yeah.
that's like I said before, I was exactly the same with that as well. But it is a good message that you're trying to put across. And if you do want to see the motivational video, we'll put it up on our Star FM Facebook page.
Very cool.
So head to 93.5 Star FM and you can check that out.
please like and subscribe. That'd help me a lot.
Yeah.
So finally, Rod Baker, what's next? At 21, you've already done quite a bit, more than most able-bodied people.
By the way, would you like to ask? Yeah.
So how did you get into motivational speaking?
Well, I was at the gym one day just doing what I do, and I was approached by a young Aboriginal man by the name of Ronnie Gibbs,
Yeah.
and he and if you've never heard that name before, he runs a group in Dubbo by the name of iProud. They're a group of young Aboriginal people around about my age, so around about 20, a bit younger maybe, and he trains these people to be in the police force,
Right.
and they happen to work on their fitness at the same gym that I go to, the RSL gym. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, "Would you mind speaking to my guys if I gathered them all together, just about your life and the struggles that you've gone through, and 'cause it's a pretty fair bet when you see someone who's got any sort of disability, really, that they've gone through, they've seen some shit."
And especially to see them at the gym as well, it's not something you see every day.
So what did you say to motivate them? This is your first form of motivational speaking. What did you say?
Yeah, this is how it all started. Well, it sort of took me by surprise, really, that he actually asked me that. I told them a bit about my life, how I had depression for probably 19 years on and off, how I've used the gym to beat that depression in really a few ways.
So then from there, were you like, that this is what I want to do? I want to start,
Yeah.
motivational talks
Yeah.
and inspire other people that, you know, either have depression or also do have a disability.
Yeah.
Or even able-bodied people,
Yeah.
that can do anything that they want but just choose not to.
Yeah, there's a few reasons why I do it, actually. There's another one is that a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people, when they see people in wheelchairs or people with any disability, their automatic reaction is pity. You know, you poor thing, you're in a wheelchair. But when they see someone at the gym, you know, doing chin-ups with their wheelchair attached, or not to mention the 10-kilogram weight.
Nice one, brag it up.
Isn't that what you guys do?
And doing stuff like kayaking or wheelchair rugby or wheelchair basketball, it sort of takes that away, and it shows that them that, oh, these people aren't so vulnerable after all. And yes, there is, of course, the odd person who is so disabled that they really can't do much for themselves, but even with them, there is still a lot even with people like that, there is still a lot that they can do.
Well, Stephen Hawking's probably a great example.
Exactly. You focus on what you do have, and you'll go far in life. You focus on what you don't have, and you'll be how I have been for most of my life.
Pretty way of summing it up, I
Yeah.
think. So, Rod, you're a motivational speaker now. You're a gym junkie. You've overcome depression, and now things are on the rise.
Yep.
What's next
Definitely.
besides the autobiography for you?
Well, my friend, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
I love it.
However, I can promise you that it's all going to be very good from here. I don't ever see depression rearing its butt ugly head again. I've totally beaten the reason why I ever had depression in the first place. I've totally nipped that in the bud. So I don't ever see anything really too negative from here on out. Of course, everyone has their down days. I still do. That's only human nature.
Yeah.
But just because you have a down day doesn't mean that it has to be downhill from here.
Glass half full, Rod Baker. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you so
It's,
much.
it's not just half full, my friend. It's totally full.